I'm not a comedian. I'm a reporter. I don't tell jokes. I just cover people and things that are jokes. You know,
And that's how writer P.J. O'Rourke began his stand-up routine at the Funniest Celebrity in Washington contest, February 15th, 2003. P.J. O'Rourke died on a different February 15th, February 15, 2022. He left behind a collection of C-SPAN interviews and appearances which showcased his trademark sense of humor. In this episode of C-SPAN's The Weekly, we remember the liberal-turned-conservative writer and satirist P.J. O'Rourke, who always added humor to his reporting. Both the Wall Street Journal and Time magazine called P.J. O'Rourke the funniest writer in America. Here's an example, one of his classics, an extended riff heard several times on C-SPAN during Bill Clinton's administration. This one from P.J. O'Rourke's February 11th, 1994 appearance at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference.
I know it's late, but I think there's always time for a fair and even-handed assessment, a little look of nice, objective little look at the Clinton administration. Simps and ninnies, lava lamp liberals and condo pinks, spoiled twerps, racket-jawed purveyors of monkey doodle and baked wind. They are piddlers upon merit, beggars at the door of accomplishment, thieves of livelihood, envy-coddling tax lice, applauding themselves for giving away other people's money. They are the lapdogs of the poli-sci class returning to the vomit of liberalism. They are little pig herders tending that sow who eats her young, the welfare state. They are muck-dwelling bottom feeders growing fat on the worries and disappointments of the electorate. They are the ditch carp of democracy. The president and his ilk surpass Kennedy in their arrogance, LBJ in their lack of scruples, and Carter in their plain stupidity. They are dung beetles in legislation, legislators in the bedchamber, chambermaids on the battlefield, and field marshals in the war against everything reasonable and decent. Such like has not been seen in the executive branch since Franklin Delano Roosevelt was wheeled up the disabled access ramp to the gates of hell.
Let's start from the beginning. Where did P.J. O'Rourke get his funny? Here's what he told BookTV on January 19th, 2000.
When I was a kid in the 50s in Toledo, Ohio, my parents had both been in the service. My father had been overseas. Everybody's father up and down the street had been overseas, including Mr. Knifke across the street, who was very careful to point out he'd been on the Russian front with the German army. But everybody's dad had been overseas, and boy, could they be boring about this, especially after a couple of beers. But in our house was the book up front with the cartoons by Bill Malden, Willie and Joe in World War II. And first place, it gave me a picture of World War II that I'd never gotten from what the dad said, I'd never gotten from the history books. And more important for my personal career, it showed me that you could be really funny. I don't know if I ever achieved it, but it showed me that a person could be really funny about really serious subjects and not have it be in bad taste or black humor or Lenny Bruce or any of that kind of stuff. That you really could do it, that humor is always there, that it is, and in subsequent years, covering wars, starting in Lebanon in 1984, I found that the people who were actually involved in wars tended to be very funny. It was one of the ways that they dealt with the horror, the fear, the discomfort, all the things that go along with war. And so what I decided to try and do was to bring the atmosphere from the front and also from the bar where the journalists hung out behind the front, which is where I got most of my information, to bring that atmosphere to the public. And I figured if properly presented, the public would be able to understand that and wouldn't say to me, oh, you can't make fun of that, that's too serious to make fun of. Well, that's, of course, just the kind of thing that needs to be made fun of most.
On a June 5, 2004 book panel, P.J. O'Rourke was honest, blunt, and funny about his reporting limitations.
My book is Peace Kills. It's all about the fun with America's foreign policy, starting with Kosovo and winding up with Iraq. Let's see. I am the only person reporting about U.S. foreign policy who is willing to admit that he has no idea what should be done out there. With everybody else seems to have a lot of ideas.
In his tribute in the New York Times, Christopher Buckley, another funny conservative writer, wrote that self-deprecating humor was P.J. O'Rourke's trademark. Here's an example from another earlier book tour that took him to C-SPAN. Here's how the January 3rd, 1999 Book Notes program began, with P.J. O'Rourke equally blunt and honest and funny about himself.
P.J. O'Rourke, author of Eat the Rich, a treatise on economics. At what stage in this book tour are you?
I am at the very, 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 very tag end.
Whoa, wow. How did we win this one?
I'm not sure. And, you know, it's pretty hard to get an Irishman to become fully sick of talking about himself. But I have achieved that state.
Another unconventional writer P.J. O'Rourke was often compared to and asked about was Hunter Thompson. He created the genre of journalism called gonzo journalism, a highly personalized, edgy, and very funny style of reporting. What did P.J. O'Rourke think of Hunter Thompson? Here's his answer on April 25, 1994, when he was writing for Rolling Stone.
No, Hunter's a poet. You know, I am no poet. I mean, Hunter takes a very extraordinary personal point of view and often goes rather ordinary places with it and turns out works of genius. I take a very prosaic and ordinary point of view and go some horrible places with it, and to date, at least I come home. I don't know what with exactly.
So what did P.J. O'Rourke consider himself? A journalist? A foreign correspondent? A satirist? BookTV asked him that on January 7th, 2007.
Just a reporter, really, just a reporter. Something about journalist that's a little too elevated. Or it means I keep a journal, which, you know, it sort of makes me think of lonely, divorced people with an interest in the crafts and taking amateur painting courses on weekends and gardening more than is probably healthy for them. People, in other words, without enough to do. So let's get rid of journalist. Satirist. Satirist technically means that you have a moral point of view. It's the use of humor for moral ends.
Do you not have a moral point of view?
Oh, everybody's got a moral point of view, but do I deserve to have my moral point of view be taken seriously? No, I'm just not that moral a person. So let's just say reporter. You know, I mean, maybe my reporting is a little funnier than some people's reporting, although, well, maybe my reporting is a little more intentionally, or at least I mean it to be intentionally funny. There's a lot of funny reporting out there.
Which brings us back to that 2003 Funniest Celebrity in Washington contest we opened with. P.J. O'Rourke also noted this.
We would all be better off if Washington weren't funny, you know? And you know, it has always bothered me a little bit how this city has a sense of humor about itself. Things like the Washington Correspondents' Dinner and the Gridiron and what we're doing here tonight. Now, and I just wonder to myself, I wonder if orthopedic surgeons ever get together and yuck it up about all the operations they botched, you know? He'll never walk again, you know?
And finally, a bonus clip from Christopher Hitchens. The slashing contrarian writer appeared on C-SPAN's Book Notes on October 17, 1993. He was asked about putting P.J. O'Rourke in one of his books in his Rogues Gallery. Christopher Hitchens said this.
P.J. O'Rourke is a guy who gets away, in my opinion, with murder. I mean, he's another ex-leftist, 60s radical dropout, wrote very funnily about what it was like being permanently stoned and bummed out and paranoid in the 60s. Then saw the light, put on a collar and tie, became a young Republican, and has been cashing in this chip ever since. and has terrific sort of following as a humorist for his books of essays. The first one, quite funny, is called Republican Party Reptile. And the next one is called Holidays in Hell, and more recent one is called Give War a Chance. And these sell terribly well among the young, much better than any of my books ever have. And it gets me down. So this is my revenge upon him.
Do you know him?
Yeah, I've met him, sure. And he's actually quite a good guy to hang out with in a bar and so forth. But I've reckoned that he was running on empty with this joke about, I know, I've been there, I've been a radical, now I see how wonderful it would be to be a completely buttoned up, buttoned down Tory. And the joke basically depends on a satire on political correctness. You know. Okay, so people try not to make jokes about AIDS. PJ will make a joke about AIDS. Okay, it's not funny to laugh at cripples. Well, I'll laugh about cripples. And I said, look, in the words of the title of the review, that's quite funny, but it's not funny enough. It's a gentle rebuke.
That's it for this episode of C-SPAN's The Weekly. A reminder that you could do your own searches in the free online C-SPAN video library. Look for other funny things P.J. O'Rourke said, and also funny things that liberal writers have said. Just go to cspan.org, use the search bar on top, then throw your head back and roar in laughter. Thanks for listening, and happy searching.